Good evening, everyone. I am Sean Rucker, one of your hosts today. I'm the owner of Sport Bike Chic. And today we have with us Porsche Taylor and also Jessica Vinson. So I'm going to go ahead and let Jessica introduce herself. She's a member of B.U.D S. So Jessica, tell us a little bit about B.U.D S.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I am Jessica Vinson. I am one of the board members on the B.U.D S Foundation. The B.U.D S Foundation, we are a nonprofit foundation. We educate in the awareness and safety in the community and on the roads for all levels of riding while supporting the injured riders and families of the fallen riders. Our vision is to educate and advocate for awareness and safety through social and informational platforms, host seminars, promote programs geared towards safety of the community and rider community while showing support and compassion whenever possible to those injured riders and families of the fallen. We also do scholarships. For more information about the B.U.D S Foundation, you're more than welcome to go to www.budsfoundation.org.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Now, just for those folks who are just joining in, we started this Get to Know series maybe 2 or 3 months ago in preparation for the B.U.D.S 10th annual virtual series. So this is the year of the COVID, right? So we're actually doing things a little bit differently. And we decided to do a more virtual event this year. But instead of actually stopping there, we decided to keep on with the Get to Know series because there are so many people that you get a chance to actually get to know virtually, whereas you may not get a chance to see them or talk to them this year. So today we have with us Porsche Taylor. Now you may know Porsche from Black Girls Ride, but Porsche has so much more to offer that we don't even realize. So Porsche, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over a little bit to you. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself? And of course, I usually ask people, what do you bring to the table?
Hi, I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I have a magazine called Black Girls Ride. It's at blackgirlsride.com, and our goal is to offer a platform for women who ride and to offer education and product reviews and event promotion for women riders. And I'm excited to be here and to be a part of the discussion today.
Excellent, excellent. So we're going to start things off a little bit lighthearted. Tell us about your bike. What do you have?
So I have a 2020 Indian Challenger. It's like the one you see behind me on my picture, and I love it to death. It's light. It's got all of the new tech and features that make everything comfortable on the road. And I just really, really love this bike. So far, I've already put about 10,000 miles on it since I got it in May. So I'm excited to ride it.
It sounds like you've been doing a lot of riding, 10,000 miles since May. That's pretty impressive. I will say that part.
Yeah, it would have been more without COVID. I generally average somewhere between 20 and 25,000 miles annually with all the different events that we attend.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we most of those miles came from our ride to DC for the March on Washington this past August. And I really got to get a good feel for what the bike can do. It's got a lot of power because it's a liquid cooled engine, which means it's got more horsepower than a traditional V-twin. So that means it'll get you in and around traffic fairly easily, especially when you're trying to get around big trucks on these long highways. So yeah, there's so many little nuances to the bike, and I did a beautiful custom paint job that I'm super proud of, that I think represents, if my spirit and a machine kind of came together, it would be my bike Goldie. And so yeah, I'm in love with it.
Awesome. I love it. I know Jessica was just admiring. She was like, oh my gosh, you have such a beautiful bike. Huh?
Yes. If you do not follow Black Girls Ride on Instagram, follow them on Instagram. Her bike, it is awesome. That paint job, oh my goodness, it is lovely.
Yeah, that's courtesy of Hollister Power Sports in Northern California. They did an absolutely fabulous job on the paint. I gave them my concept, what I wanted, the colors that I had in mind, and they turned it into a living work of art.
Excellent. Well, I mean, apparently you did a phenomenal job on that one. So Jessica, thank you for for all that. So how did you actually get started riding?
I started, excuse me, I started riding in 2003. I have a cousin who initially put me on the back of his bike, and I knew I liked the feeling of riding, but I also knew that I didn't like the feeling of being a passenger.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of tabled the feeling, and then I was toying with the idea of getting a motorcycle or getting a big screen TV. I got a really good bonus check at the time. I was a marketing manager at Adidas, and I got a really good bonus check that year.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went to go see Biker Boys. And at the time, I mean, it was a pretty cheesy movie. But what stood out to me, and this is why folks often say representation matters, what stood out to me was there were women in the movie riding their own bikes. They weren't on the back. They weren't, scenery. They were actually in charge of riding their own machines. And that gave me the idea that I could do it myself. I could ride a bike. So I took my bonus. I went and got my very first Ninja ZX6R. It was, I think, a 97.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, I just never looked back. I've been enjoying riding ever since.
Wow. That is pretty impressive. A big screen TV or motorcycle.
Motorcycle, yeah. Imagine if I'd have got the TV. Who knows where I'd be right now.
I wasn't ready. I just want you to know I was not ready for that.
Yeah.
So from the time you first started up until now, I mean, you've had a pretty stinking interesting path. Now, I say the whole piece about Black Girls Ride because obviously that's what you're most known for, right? But when it comes to the lifestyle, there's one thing about saying, okay, I ride motorcycles, but sometimes you run across people that actually have this as their entire lifestyle. You actually ride motorcycles. You have a Black Girls Ride magazine about motorcycles. You're actually involved in the motorcycle industry with the Polaris, with one of your most recent ventures. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey? Like, what in the world has happened over the past few years?
Well, for me, it was just a matter of being consistent in the community and producing things for women and being a part of women's events and helping to further and promote women in motorcycling. I love to ride. And so anytime someone asks me to be a part of something, I rarely say no because I love to ride that much. And, I've been very blessed to have some great partnerships with Polaris and Indian Motorcycle and with Russ Brown Motorcycle Attorneys. And, we do events all across the country annually. And Polaris they just created their new empowerment board, which is a board of women in power sports. And they ask us our opinion as it pertains to their product line and how they can be more of a service to women in power sports. Mm-hmm. And I just thought that was a very interesting and exciting way to look at marketing to women riders. So often female riders tend to be an afterthought. They'll make a smaller bike and that'll be the one that they want to point to you and say, if you walk in any dealership, 9 times out of 10, the sales guy will assume that the smaller bike is for you. And so I just made it a point to have conversations, whether it's with Center Stand and the IMS show, or it's with, the Motorcycle Industry Council, and try and offer as much insight as I can into what really is in the mindset of an active female rider, so that they can make decisions in where to put resources where it can be of best use for us. Mm-hmm. So, man, I'm excited about all of these different opportunities, and it's just been a blessing to be asked.
Absolutely. So, and I think that's the part that's so impressive, because when you look at all the things that as far as women and how we've actually progressed over the years with so many more women riders, is really important to be able to have that that voice as a part of the council, as a part of people that are actually creating things for women. So, I mean, to have that say, to have that voice, that's something that's actually really, really, really impactful for our women riders. But I will ask you this: why not, why not Black people ride, or why Black girls ride? What is the mission about women riders?
Well, particularly in the motorcycle community, we had often, at least in the Los Angeles area, it's always been said that MC stands for Man's Club.
Mm-hmm.
And women tend to be relegated to a background or a supporting role. And so with Black Girls Ride, I am unapologetically promoting Black women as riders and not as support staff, not as a auxiliary, not as a side, an afterthought. We are active members of this community with keys to our own bikes, and we deserve to have our opinions voiced and heard. And so not only were we missing amongst our own community, we were missing amongst the motorcycle industry.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of complaining and saying, hey, how come you don't have Black girls in your magazine? I know there are Black women riders. I just said, you know what? I've got a degree from history at UCLA. I've got, a talent that includes graphic design and writing. And so why not? Why not be Essence Magazine meets Super Sport Bike and create the content that showcases these women? And I'm excited after, this is our 9th year, next year will be our 10th anniversary. We have effectively changed the face of what motorcycle riders look like in the industry. When I first started Black Girls Ride, I went to some of the OEM brands, and because I knew what it was going to be, because I knew what we were riding and I knew what we were doing in my community. So I went to these brands and I was told that they didn't have budget for us. And so I said, okay, no problem. I'm going to build it. And you will see just how much budget you should be earmarking for us. And those who get it get the benefit of the growth and the support of the movement. And those who don't, well, you're starting to see more inclusive motorcycle ads or motorcycle brand ambassadors from some of those same brands who said they didn't have the time of day for us when I first started. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about being that change in the industry and doing it in a way that didn't alienate those OEM brands, but instead encourage them to reach out to us as a community, whether it's through me or another rider, but to understand that we are here, we deserve a piece of this of motorsports culture, and we're not going anywhere. So you need to deal with us. So that's what you're seeing after 10 years of writing articles and doing events and social media marketing and giving the platform to other riders to uplift them. Now you're starting to see it in the advertising and the marketing spend with some of these brands. You're starting to see some of the apparel brands say, hey, maybe I do need to get on this plus size game a little bit, because we have riders that have curves in different places. Instead of doing a 3X tall, which is what they usually do for women, it needs to be a 3X curvy, where, you take into account some hips and some wider arms and things like that. So, again, I'm excited about the direction of the industry in terms of Black women in particular, and women in general. But we definitely still have a long way to go, and I'm here to continue to be that change.
Absolutely. I'm so glad to hear that.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. So I have a question. I know with the B.U.D S Foundation, we're around safety. What is safety to you as far as with Black Girls Ride?
So safety begins with education. And that's why you'll see us go across the country and host our rider prep workshops. Because a lot of women are learning how to ride from their brothers, their uncles, their husbands, their boyfriends, and we're learning a lot of their bad habits. These are guys that don't really know necessarily the right thing to do. They just know what they've been taught for years. You know, for example, they might tell you that you shouldn't use your back brake. I've heard that for years as a sport bike rider. And that's the most ridiculous thing in the world. And so, you know, there are little things like that that we're hoping to bring to the table to help continue educate women so that they can make great decisions for themselves, whether it be choosing a bike that fits their riding style, whether it be choosing the proper gear with the proper fit, letting them understand that using used and recycled gear should not really happen for certain pieces. You know, there are just certain things that we need to continue to say over and over and over again. And through repetition, we will instill safety in our riders. And that's what we want to be. We want to be a conduit for that safety message.
Awesome, awesome, awesome.
Okay. So recently, Jessica and I were just talking about voting. I know I went to vote the other day, and so did she apparently. And we both were, you know, absolutely blessed with like short lines. And that's the goal of the hour, just to be able to go vote with short lines. Now, one of the endeavors that you've been hosting recently is the Ride to Vote for 2020. Tell us about that a little bit more and how that gets started. Where are you now?
Okay, so we actually did a ride from Los Angeles or Long Beach, California to Washington, D.C. for the March on Washington. And as I traveled across the country, I formulated my speech for that march. I was asked by Reverend Sharpton to speak. And I was encouraged to do that ride because there's so many issues affecting the Black community, primarily police violence and brutality, that, you know, it compelled me to put together that ride. So when I got on the road, I could see across the country as I hit every city, every state. You know, it's about 2,700 miles to Washington, D.C. So we covered quite a bit of land in the middle of the country. So we hit middle America. I could see where the support for the Trump campaign was very strong. And I wasn't seeing the same level of support from the Biden-Harris campaign. I would see huge Trump billboards, and very sparingly you might see a Biden-Harris sign. And it hit me that they needed a marketing push. They need, because we know in our heart of hearts what we need to vote for in order to right the ship of this country, in order to unify this country. So when I got to the march and I said my speech, a huge part of that was saying that we were going to fuel the ballot boxes to affect change. President Obama often says that there's a two-pronged approach. You protest and then you vote to affect change. If you don't do the second part of that equation, then the miles that we rode were for nothing. So when I got back home, we, as in the Black Girls Ride Committee, decided to do the Ride to Vote in different cities and states. And so far we've completed our initiative in California, Virginia, North Carolina, New York, and Georgia. And we potentially have some cities that are still coming up. I think we're going to end up doing something in Houston, and we're going to end up doing something in Columbus, Ohio, before Election Day. Even if it's an educational series on who you might need to consider in your particular community if we miss the early voting cutoff dates. See, I'm blessed to be from a liberal state in that California cared that everybody got an opportunity to vote. So we got mail-in ballots no matter what. So that made it really, really easy for us. We don't have the long line problem. There are 400 ballot boxes in Southern California that we can vote at. And it's just something as simple as taking your ballot to the ballot box. You get tracking for your ballot. I've got a text message that said, we received your vote and your vote will be counted. But unfortunately, in other states, voter suppression is very real. And so we recognized that early on, and we wanted to motivate our community to vote early. And regardless of the long lines, I mean, the long lines started weeks ago, but it's that kind of election that we are now on the precipice of losing civil rights that have already been fought for. Our civil rights are regressing. The Voting Rights Act has been gutted. It's just a matter of time. I'm seeing little by little every stride that President Obama made is being systematically rolled back. And then you add into that the fact that with a Republican-led Senate, we just aren't moving forward. So that's really why I'm fighting so hard this election. I just don't feel like in any other election, I'm a consistent voter, that I've ever been moved to move a group of people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Typically, voting for me is a singular event. It's okay, I'm going to look at the issues, I'm going to make my choices, I'm going to vote, and then whatever happens, happens. For the first time ever, I'm compelled to be on the team of activism. Because how can you have a magazine that says Black Girls Ride, but you're not going to actively fight for issues affecting the Black community? So that's why we're so motivated to do this campaign.
Well, I can certainly I can hear your passion. Absolutely. So when we talk about that passion, when we talk about all the things that you were just talking about with the riding and the black the black votes, sorry. When you go back to Washington and you rode to Washington, being able to speak at that event, what did that mean to you?
It's definitely a surreal moment. You are standing in the place where Dr. King stood, where John Lewis stood, where so many people who fought and died, took their last breath, still fighting for us, stood. And I never thought of myself as an activist. So I had a little bit of a panic attack before I went up there. And even though I was offered the opportunity to speak, I didn't jump at it, because you start thinking to yourself, am I the right one to deliver a message? And then you start thinking of all of the communities that you're representing, from Black women to my own personal family, to motorcycle riders, to my sorority sisters, to just everyone that, if you're on that stage, the message has to be powerful, it has to be strong. So, all of that kind of went through my head, and I'm happy that, I feel like I did a great job in getting our message across, and letting them know that the motorcycle community is not what you always see, because most folks want to paint motorcycle riders as one gender, one race, and they have one belief system. But the Black community has a very rich heritage in motorcycling. And, we deserve to be heard, and we deserve to be represented.
Absolutely. I mean, you definitely have seen that. You mentioned before in the advertising, you see that in the marketing, you see that in the gear that's provided to it. And I mean, I think now I would agree. I do see a lot of that diversity starting to come forth, but I do appreciate the fact that there are people that are actually bringing that to the surface, like yourself, that are actually, saying that, hey, we're here. We've always been here. Now it's a matter of actually including us, because it's not just, we have a very small, entity into this whole organization or this community. We're a very important part of it. We're a very big part of it. And I think that's the thing that actually really drives us, because we're consumers like anyone else. We require motorcycle safety, motorcycle gear like everyone else. Now it's just a matter of actually having that voice like everyone else, whether you're female, whether you're Black, whether you're white. Now it's a matter of the proper representation across the board.
Mm-hmm. And so, we're very excited to be there for that, and to support anyone who has something positive to share with the community. I'm definitely on board.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
So my question is, with everything that's going on now, everything that Black Girls Ride has done so far, what is next?
Oh, wow. There's so much still to be done. I mean, we have a lot of work to do. And just initially for our 10th anniversary, we're going to make some changes and be rolling out some new ideas that, you know, you'll have to wait to see what that's going to be about. We're excited to be preparing a international ride to Africa for 2023.
Wow.
Of course, next year we will be returning to Essence Fest for the biggest party of the summer. I'm excited about what that's going to look like. There's just so much work to do in terms of educating and continuing to feature women who continue to push the culture forward in a positive way. We want to continue to be a part of that conversation. We want to continue to be a platform for women riders. You know, as women motorcycle owners make up 52% of the Black motorcycle ownership. Women make up 52% to male 48%. Now, do with those numbers what you will. Every time I say that stat, I'm probably gonna, get some backlash, but it's a true figure. Now, that means that there are a lot of women out there, and we can see them. We see them getting yonder. We see them crossing state lines. We see them doing iron butt challenges. We see them. And so, we want to continue to recognize those women. We're going to be doing the Beautiful Bikers Conference. It was going to be slated for November, but unfortunately, due to COVID, we've had to move the date to March 5th. So we'll be rolling out all of our new messaging for that starting next week. It's just, there's so much work to do. I have some ideas that I won't mention yet because I tend to give I tend to give away a lot of ideas. So I'm gonna hold on to a couple, and we'll put something really cool together.
Awesome! I'm excited to see what's next for Black Girls Ride. I really am. I'm ready to go to some of these events that you all be having. Essence is what I really want.
Yeah, if you've never been to Essence, you definitely want to come party with us. It's unlike anything you've ever done on the motorcycle set. It's not it's a party from the moment you get there. It's a party. So I invite you guys to come out and hang out with us, and we're gonna have a great time.
All right, I'm gonna try to be there.
And we're giving away a slingshot too. We're gonna give away another slingshot next year. So.
I'm gonna be there. Slingshot. I'm gonna get me one.
Listen, it's fun. Slingshots are a lot of fun.
Yes.
Awesome. Now, one thing that you mentioned before was a staggering number that I think people are going to have to sit on and digest a little bit. In terms of that 52% are the women are women owned motorcycles. So obviously that's just the number of riders, right? Or at least the owners. We still have
that's the number of owners now, because a man will correct you. Just because you own it don't mean you ride it. They get in their feelings. Now listen, it's not my fault, fellas. Get your credit. Do what you gotta do to get the bike in your name, and then maybe the number will shift. But the truth is 52% of owners are women, Black women. Okay? I'm gonna just leave it right there.
Yeah.
Let the backlash begin.
Just sit that right there. Just right there.
Well, we're not gonna let it sit there too long, because I will say, just because you own motorcycles, there are a whole bunch of people that actually ride on the back of motorcycles too. And there's still representation there. That still needs to be had. Just because you're not the actual rider doesn't mean that you're actually not a part of the motorcycle community in some way, shape, or form. So you still deserve some representation, even when it comes to gear or anything else, because you're putting your life in someone else's hand that does actually ride motorcycles. So I think that number, however we end up coming up with these numbers, whether it's 52%, of the Black community, whether it's 19% in the US community, whatever the case may be, the number is always going to be a little bit more, because I think a lot of times people are not including the passengers in that number, and it's a part of, they're part of it. So it's a really bigger story to tell for sure. So with that said, what else would you like to kind of see going forward when it comes to the motorcycle community?
Man, I'm loving the trend of the all-female rides that's been going on. We started running the law. When did we start doing running the law? I can't remember the year, but it was a while ago. And since then, it seems like there's been a trend to do all female riding events, and I'm loving it. I think that it's bringing women together from different cities and states, and it's encouraging women to ride outside their comfort zone. So I encourage that. I want to see that continue. I want to see us, continue to get recognized by our local dealerships as participants, and not just during Women's Rider Month. Like they need to start instituting programs for women riders throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so many different directions you can go with it. But more than anything, I just want to see women continue to encourage other women to ride. And because when you do that, you bring someone into the WIN sisterhood. They get to experience WIN therapy, because that's really the only time where we're allowed to be selfish. We tend to take care of our kids, our mates, our elderly, our jobs. There's so many people pulling us in different directions. But when you're on a motorcycle, you are allowed to be self-centered in order to keep yourself safe. And that allows you to kind of meditate and talk to God in your thoughts. And so I wish that for every woman possible, as many women as possible.
Absolutely. And one thing I noticed, like, obviously we're talking about growing the ridership with women. And I think women are getting just more notice when it comes to just motorcycling because of social media a lot of the times. And you have a really big following on Black Girls Riding, your Facebook group. So how do you see social media further growing this women's ridership?
There's a ton of new vloggers and content creators that are out. And I think the more that we continue to create content for social media, you continue to change the face of what riding looks like. And that young girl who's coming up gets to see somebody that looks like her on a bike. And now it doesn't become such a foreign concept, When I was growing up, motorcycles were boys' toys. And, girls were not really encouraged to ride. I remember wanting to get a dirt bike when I was a kid, and my dad was like, absolutely not, And so I didn't have that support system as a young person. I think that the more that these younger girls are seeing it, that we become our own support system. You can grab a young girl who is maybe 16 years old and now eligible to get her driver's license. She can now go ahead and learn to ride a motorcycle as well if we continue to offer up safe ways for them to train. And just be present and be that mentor for the younger groups. My Black Girls Ride group, I consider a safe space. It doesn't matter what you're riding, whether it's 3 wheels, whether it's 2 wheels, whether it's 150 cc's, or whether it's 1800 cc's. It doesn't matter. You're welcome into the space. You're welcome with the questions and the conversations. There is no dumb question. There's always going to be a new person who's going to ask the question that was asked 50 million times. But we welcome those questions because we want to help you be safe. We want to help you make good purchasing decisions. That's why women get stuck with bikes that don't fit them properly, and then they're teetering and tottering, and they're not comfortable on the bike. And then heaven forbid something happens. If we can have the conversation early on what to look for when you're buying your first bike, or what to look for when you're shopping for a used bike. These are all things that social media helps give us resources of women all over the country that can speak to help you. And it helps you find riders in your area that can grab you by the hand and say, hey, I know you're new to the community. I'm willing to go out and ride with you. And, I think that that's the number one benefit of social media, is bringing the community together to be resources for each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I just hope that we can continue that.
No, absolutely. So what advice do you have for any new riders that are out there?
So new rider, meaning new licensed rider.
Yes.
I would say ride your ride. Don't allow anyone to push you further than you're willing to go, faster than you're willing to go. Mm-hmm. Take as many advanced rider training courses as you can. The more you sit in the saddle, the more comfortable you'll be with your bike. I encourage you to learn your bike and don't necessarily listen to what someone else is telling you about your bike. That means learn what the correct tire pressure needs to be, learn how to check your oil. If you've got a sport bike, learn what your proper chain tension is, learn how to clean your chain properly when you ride it. Learn your vehicle. Don't rely on anyone else to fix your vehicle. That means your husband, your boyfriend, because all it takes is for him to get an attitude one day and you want to go riding, and now you out there on something that's less safe because you didn't know the steps to take care of your own. So that's what I would say. Make sure you have the tools that belong to your bike, especially if you bought it used. Make sure you get a toolkit so that if something does happen and you're on the road, you at least have the tools to troubleshoot what's going on. Man, there's a lot. I got a lot that I can say to new riders. Make sure you get gear that fits. Don't buy a used helmet. Every helmet you get, try to make sure it's brand new, because once a helmet is dropped, it's been compromised. You don't know how the foam is going to protect you on the inside. Make sure you're trying to ride as geared up as possible. I know I tend to disobey that sometimes, because I'm just going up the street, so whatever. So that's why I'm starting to buy gear that looks like regular clothes but has protective elements. Shout out to Sport Bike Chic, because she got some really cool Kevlar hoodies and things like that you can still ride safe, but you can also look like you're just riding in regular athletic wear as well. So there are all kind of things that I would say for new motorcycle riders. Ask questions. Don't be so quick to join a club or a group until you know how to ride your bike first. I think that's first and foremost. Learn how to ride the bike before you endeavor into any of the social aspect. Because if you don't know how to get yourself out of certain situations, whether it's a group ride that's gone awry, before you even ride in a group, you need to know who you're riding with. How do you know them? Have you participated with them before? What have you heard about their rides? Do they have safety precautions set up? Or is it just a bunch of folks riding up the street in a group and nobody knows what they're doing and it's chaotic? If that's what you're dealing with, make sure you stay at the back of those rides so you can kind of maneuver around the nonsense that may occur. But yeah, there's I could write a whole book. I should write a book.
You should write a book. You may as well.
I should. On things that new riders can expect, because when we came into this, we came in I don't know how long you ladies have been riding. But I got really lucky when I started riding. Even though my cousin was my inspiration to get a bike, he didn't really teach me how to ride it. I took the bike myself, and I happened upon a bike night one night in Hollywood. And, at the time I was living right up Sunset Boulevard, and there was a bike night about 7 miles from me. So I made it to the bike night, but I got there late. But there was a club that was there, and it had one Black female rider. Her name was Federal. And she took me by the hand, and she was like, I'm going to teach you how to ride this bike so you don't kill yourself. And she would take me after. I would beg her. Hey, what time do you get off work? I want to go ride. And she was always super receptive and patient with me. She took me riding on the streets of LA at dark because that's where there was less traffic. And, when you learn from a woman, when you learn how to ride from a woman, it's more nurturing. Men tend to be more aggressive. Hurry up, you got to keep up. I need you right here. Come on now. You're riding too slow. You know what I'm saying? Women don't do that. Women will let you ride at your pace, and they will ride behind you so that they can understand what you need to work on. You see? And so, we need more female riding instructors as well. So, in all cities and states, I encourage you, if you are a veteran, to go ahead and get that instructor certificate, even if it's just to teach the people that even if you don't teach professionally, It's just to teach the people around your way, because I guarantee you're gonna run up on that one young lady. And I just met one at a barbecue this past weekend. So now I have to pay it forward. I feel obligated. She's new. She's riding on a 350, a Ninja 350. And I'm like, okay, this is God saying it's your turn. You got to get back to this young lady. She's never ridden on the freeway before. So now is a great time to teach her some good habits before she learns the wrong way. And, you know, hopefully I can help her be safe on the road.
Absolutely. So we're going to start to wind this down. And I'm going to tell you now, you have some really good advice, because I think learning how to ride, it's just one thing to actually own a motorcycle. But when you actually learn how to ride to your body style, to your size, to your weight and everything, and picking out that perfect bike that's just for you, it means the world, and really kind of nothing guarantees anything, but it really kind of gives you a better foundation for success. You know, it really allows you to enjoy the ride a heck of a lot more than something that's big and awkward. And you're like, what in the world? How do I do all this? Oh, no.
Yeah.
So great advice.
Yeah, a lot. And, you know, one last thing is to don't encourage someone to move you up in engine size before you're ready. So a lot of people say, why are you riding that 350? You should have got a 600. Hold on. Hold on, Rossi. You ain't hitting the track all like that. You know what I'm saying? The truth is, a 350 is a pretty powerful bike.
Yeah.
You know, let me learn this, right? And then when I feel comfortable, I'll move up, you know. And we do need to stop bike shaming as a community, because we do that a lot. You know, if a person doesn't ride a certain brand, or I'm always going to be outside the norm, you know, but if a person doesn't ride a certain brand or this or that, then they you know, you can't ride with us because you don't ride this or that. Knock it off. I'm going to ride whatever you pay for. If you put money on, then you can have a say so in my bike. Until then,
I hear you.
Look, everybody Harleys now, and everybody's, oh, you like to get a Harley? You gonna pay for
it? Don't ask me about that. Look, don't ask me about that.
All right. Jessica, any last questions that you may have?
I don't.
Okay. Well, I have one last one for you, Portia. I ask everyone this, and you are going to be no different with that one. What is your legacy? What do you want it to be?
My legacy. Well, my legacy currently, I hope, is diversifying the face of motorsports in America. And I hope that eventually will transcend globally. We do have riders in countries overseas, and I can't wait to meet them in person and roll with them. And I think that I'd love that the legacy continues to be creating a safe space for women riders to get educated, and to meet and greet and meet new riding buddies, and you know, to continue to promote and engage with positive role models in the motorcycling industry.
Well, I think that actually sums it up really well. And I think you're going to be well on your way to meeting that legacy. So thank you for all that you're doing in the motorcycle community. Thank you for all that you're doing for the ladies in America and across the globe soon. I think whatever you're doing, all the things that you're involved with, giving that voice to people, giving that voice and that representation of women on all the different councils that you're part of and all the things that you're doing. I think those endeavors are absolutely essential to what's going to grow this motorcycling forward, especially when it comes down to women riders. So thank you for all that.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
No, absolutely. Well, ladies, I'm going to let you have the rest of your night, but thank you so much for joining, Jessica. I expect to, see you at some of these events too. Just saying, this weekend.
Oh, yes, you would definitely see me at some of these events. You definitely will.
All right. Take care, ladies. Have a great one.
You
All
too.
right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.